for us to be in our natural state, which is to feel so much love for ourselves, our higher self, our heart, it only knows love. Spirit, source, God, it only knows love. And yes, contrast is part of it. Yes, suffering, it's all part of God. It's all part of source. However, at the core of the energy of source, the underlying fundamental energy of source is love. I want to talk about one of the ways that we create our own suffering, and it is through not allowing our energy to express itself in its most natural way. In this video, I'm going to be chatting about our energy, its natural state, how it wants to be, and how we can create more well-being within ourselves by cultivating our own flowing energy and doing the right things necessary for that to happen. Our energy, the natural state that it wants to be in, is flow, like water. When water is moving, it is flowing. That is the healthy state that it's in. When it's stuck in a container and it cannot move, then it stagnates and it's not healthy and it starts to go bad. And it's the same with our energy. And sometimes we believe that, oh, my energy is stagnating, so therefore I'm not feeling like I want to be creative. We kind of have this story that because our energy is blocked, because we are stagnating, we do not want to create. But actually, it's the opposite way around. When we stop creating, when we stop being in that creative process, that's when our energy cannot flow anymore. Because every time we create, every time we bring something into form, and that form may be something really tangible or something intangible, we are allowing the inspiration, which is our spirit, to express ourselves, itself, into creative output. And so that is our natural state. Our natural state is to be creative. And also another thing is that our higher self, our spirit, it wants to meet its edge over and over again and go beyond. That is where our spirit thrives. Our higher self loves to go into the unknown. It loves to go beyond. It is our ego that wants to feel safe and secure. And so our ego will sometimes not want to go into the unknown because the ego wants to be safe. The ego wants to understand what's happening. The mind, the ego want to know exactly how everything's going to work out, what's going to happen, and that's impossible to know because we can never know what will truly happen in the future. And also, it can limit us to going more into the unknown, expanding ourselves, being creative, being in that flow, in that expansion, in that expression of energy that wants to experience new things, that wants to create new things, that wants to flow into the next iteration of whatever it wants to be. So, how do we ensure that we have all parts of ourselves on board to be able to keep expressing ourselves creatively? Because when we are doing so, when we are being creative, when we are going into the unknown, when we are expanding our horizons, we are in our most joyful, beautiful state. Because being connected with that energy of the higher self, of what the higher self thrives on, of love, of trust, of trusting in the unknown, of knowing that everything is going to work out, that everything is already beautiful exactly the way that it is, and that I get to keep going into the unknown. When we are in that state, we are in love, we are in appreciation, we are trusting, and that feels really good for us. However, when we stop being creative, when we think, actually, I'm not worthy of being seen, so therefore I won't create this thing to put out there into the world, or other limiting beliefs that the ego comes up with where it simply doesn't feel safe, then we stop being creative and we start staying in that small comfort zone, and then our energy starts to stagnate and we start to get wrapped up in those stories and we start to believe them. When our energy can't flow, when we are kind of in that stagnating place, that's when we start, being in that soup of not feeling good, and those stories of unworthiness or whatever it may be seem more and more real because we aren't allowing ourselves to go beyond, to come outside of them. So how can we make sure that we can continuously step into the unknown without our ego getting too loud? Because our ego wants to feel safe, and when we are continuously coming into the unknown and we aren't making sure that our ego is being held by our higher selves and our heart, then our ego gets louder and louder, and it'll start to really be in that self-sabotaging mode where it's like, no, I am not doing this. This is not okay for me. I do not feel safe. No. And it puts the brakes on. And then we kind of have to be like, oh, okay, why am I not in the creative flow anymore? So what we can do is we can check in when we are feeling like, wow, I'm expanding so much. This is whoa. And then we start contracting again. There's nothing wrong with that as well. That's perfectly normal. However, being too back into the ego stories can stop us from stepping further into our most joyful, natural, beautiful state that we can be in. So as we expand and we go into the unknown and we're over and over again becoming this new beautiful iteration of ourselves, how can we ensure that our ego feels safe? Checking in. Like I said, checking in when we are in that moment of I'm expanding, and then the ego is like, oh, it's going too fast. It's going too fast. I don't feel safe. I don't want this. Listening. What's going on? Is there an inner child coming forward? Is there a younger version of myself who is like, I don't feel safe because I experienced this trauma around that, and it's not cool for me right now to go there. Check in with them. What do you need? What do you need from me right now? And most of the time, they simply want to be heard. Our ego wants to be acknowledged and embraced and loved, because that is the part of ourselves that cannot love itself. It is the wounded aspect of us. It is the one that doesn't trust, that feels like it's in survival. So when we can embrace our ego from our heart, our higher aspect, our higher selves, that can be a beautiful way to calm it and to allow that voice to be heard, but not to act on it. To know that, okay, you are feeling hurt. You are feeling like you do not want to progress right now. You are not feeling safe. I hear you. And I'm the one that knows that we can trust. I'm the one who is going to continue stepping into the unknown whilst holding you, whilst ensuring that you are safe. I am here for you now to show you that you are safe. And when we do that, then we are becoming whole. We are becoming integrated within ourselves. And then we don't get so caught up in those stories, because it could be that you want to create a piece of art, whatever it may be, whether it's a video of you expressing your truth, or some music, or artwork, or some new creation, new recipe, like whatever it is. And you've created it, and then the next process is to bring it out there into the world, because we are creating to enhance the world for other people to enjoy our creations, right? that is part of the process is actually to create, to allow the flow, inspiration to come and to create, and then to also bring it out into the world so it can be witnessed, so it can be cherished, enjoyed by other people. And so if we're not fully integrated, we will have maybe that story of, oh, it's not good enough yet, I need to do it again, that perfectionism coming in, or no one will care, no one's going to benefit from this. And then that cuts our creative flow. And it also perpetuates that story that I am unworthy of being seen, of being heard. My creations aren't good enough. I'm not good enough. Which is, again, another story of the ego. We are all inherently worthy. We are all inherently good enough. Our creative output is worthy and good enough. It simply is. It is beautiful the way that it is. And so then we can stop that creative flow, and then we don't feel good because we are identifying with the stories of the ego. And identifying with the stories of the ego means our own suffering. It translates to that because our ego does not understand that part of thriving is going into the unknown. So it wants to play small, it wants to play safe, and then when we identify too much with those stories, we create our own suffering. And so it is time now to understand these different aspects within ourselves, to understand that for us to be in our natural state, which is to feel so much love for ourselves, our higher self, our heart, it only knows love. Spirit, source, God, it only knows love. And yes, contrast is part of it. Yes, suffering, it's all part of God. It's all part of source. However, at the core of the energy of source, the underlying fundamental energy of source is love. And so for us to feel love, to feel joy, to feel in that zone of comfort in the real sense, comfort in I'm feeling alive. This is my comfort, to feel alive right now, to feel so flowing, so much energy, so much juiciness. We can cultivate that. We can steer our boat in that direction of feeling more of that, to live the most joyful and beautiful life that we can possibly live in this lifetime. And so let's do it. Let's take responsibility for ourselves right now. All right, the battery ran out on my tripod, so we're continuing from here. So next time you face that moment of self-doubt, of self-sabotage, of feeling unworthy, have that awareness. It doesn't need to be like this. I can allow myself to feel these things, and I can also step into another reality that is real, which is my higher self, my heart, who feels so much love, who feels so much worthiness, and who are here to support me in stepping into the unknown, because we are always supported. We are always held. We are always loved. Source, God, divinity is always here to support us when we open our arms to receive, when we surrender, when we trust, when we allow ourselves to be held. And so this is the invitation. Next time you are feeling doubt, unworthiness, you're feeling anything that might stop you from flowing, from being creative, from stepping into the unknown, for overcoming yourself, remember that you can hold your ego and you can tune into your heart and your higher self and keep going into the creative process and enjoying that juicy feeling of your energy flowing into something new, into the unknown. So If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more of this content. And I will see you in the next video.